fortress is lost! We must withdraw!
No! The paling still stands.
Okay, so we all know the PlayStation 2 is like the king of consoles, right? But what still blows my mind is how this chunky little machine somehow runs some of the most beautiful JRPGs ever made. Like, seriously, 17 absolute gems packed into it. And the best part? You don't need to sell a kidney to play them because the PS2 is still super affordable today. So let's dive into how the PS2 pulls off this magic and why these JRPGs still hold up. Persona 4. Persona 4 drops us in Inaba with this twisted murder mystery wrapped up in a supernatural TV world adventure. And it all runs on the ancient PS2 hardware using the Persona 3 engine whispering under the hood. Yeah, they basically reused models and animations, but swapped in a brighter, punchier art style. Think bold yellows, sleek anime cutscenes, and more variety in dungeon visuals that somehow makes those technical limitations feel like a design choice. Atlus didn't reinvent the wheel. They leaned into their familiarity with the PS2 dev kit, reusing assets and shuffling character models to save time and cash. And it paid off big time. It's polished, expressive, and stylish. In other words, totally charming. Even though the PS2's CPU, Emotion Engine, vector units, and 4MB video RAM aren't mind-blowing by today's standards, they handled fog, polygons, and cinematic flair surprisingly well. In the end, Persona 4 is one of those games that shows how creativity and smart reuse on aging hardware can still deliver something stunning. Even now, firing it up on a PS2 feels like rediscovering joy.
The door has opened.
What?
You understand nothing.
Sora...
Kingdom Hearts 2. Kingdom Hearts 2 absolutely flexes what the PS2 can do, even years after its debut. Square Enix took full advantage of the system's Emotion Engine and graphics synthesizer, cranking out jaw-dropping visuals that still blow us away today. Every world, from the moody steampunk of Timeless River to the neon-drenched glow of space paranoids, looks like a Disney movie come to life on aging hardware. The character models are super expressive, especially Port Royal's Jack Sparrow and the rest of Pirates of the Caribbean crew, and the animations feel silky and alive. Reviewers straight up called it impossibly smooth and a showstopper for the PS2. All that without dumping support for fancy features. KH2 is locked at 480i. But you don't even notice because the art style and attention to detail are just that good. It's a perfect mix of creative design and smart engineering that squeezes every last drop of beauty from the PS2, proof the system can still wow you when developers play to its strengths. Final Fantasy XII. Final Fantasy XII. Legit looks like a warm, cinematic watercolor painting come alive on the PS2, and it's wild considering how ancient that hardware is. Square Enix pushed the PS2's Emotion Engine and graphics synthesizer to their absolute max, serving up jaw-dropping draw distances, richly detailed character models, and sprawling fantasy cities that feel downright alive. The game even handles weather effects like sandstorms or rain in real time, making the world feel dynamic and breathing. It runs silky smooth across most encounters, with slowdowns showing up only in ultra-heavy scenes. Fans today still gawk at how lush Ivalice looks, calling it one of the most beautiful, deep, and engaging worlds I've ever seen. And celebrating how much detail they crammed into the environments, tiny nuances and intricacies that make everything pop. All of this comes from an old machine with just 32 megabytes of RAM, a 295 MHz CPU, and 4 megabytes of video memory. Proof that clever engine work and smart design can make aging hardware sing. Dragon Quest VIII, Journey of the Cursed King. Alright, Dragon Quest VIII on PS2 is basically like stepping into a living anime. Thank Akira Toriyama for those cel-shaded character models that look crispy even today. Level 5's engine makes the world feel massive. Seamless transitions from overworld to towns to dungeons, with vibrant environments, sunsets that could have been painted, and oceans that feel endless. Character and monster animations are next level. Your hero actually flips through a book when exploring, enemies emote, and none of it looks recycled or lazy. Even reviewers were floored. One of the best looking games on PS2 that proves amazing things can still be done with the console's hardware. And fans still can't believe how gorgeous it is. One Redditor said it defies belief that it's a PS2 era game, and even rivals PS3 titles in style. All on aging PS2 guts, emotion engine and graphics synthesizer doing wonders inside a 32 MB system. That's creative design and smart engineering flexing hard, and cheap AF to revisit today. Dark Cloud 2. Let's talk about Dark Cloud 2, aka Dark Chronicle. This game basically turns the PS2 into a living cartoon. Level 5 leaned into tonal rendering, a cousin of cel shading, and nailed it. The environments and character models look like they stepped straight out of a painting, bursting with vivid colors and crazy detail like bouncing pendants, mosaic floors, and even realistic weather transitions. The animation is buttery smooth. Seriously, Max's pendant bounces on his chest while he runs. Reviewers didn't hold back, calling it one of the finest games released for the PlayStation 2, and arguably the best-looking PS2 game out there. Props to that glossy visual style and the polished execution. And fans? They still light up about the game's creativity. All of that on hardware packing just a 295 MHz CPU, 32 MB of RAM, and 4 MB video memory. Yeah, that's what ancient tech looks like in expert hands. The PS2 may be old, but Dark Cloud 2 proves it can still create art and affordability. Tales of the Abyss. Have you ever fired up Tales of the Abyss on PS2 and just gotten hit by how anime it looks? The cel-shaded style leans into bright pastels and blocky models that actually work in its favor, making everything pop without stressing out the hardware. Sure, the overworld performance gets wonky with frame drops and lag when you twist the camera or trek across continents, but once you get into towns or battles, things smooth out fast. Loading times? Yep, they're a thing, especially on the world map, but they're part of the package when you're rocking a PS2 RPG. What's cool is how the engine, built on Tales of Symphonia's foundation, lets you move freely in real-time battles, throwing combos, AD skills, and flashy over-limit attacks without missing a beat. And fans still hype the experience today. One even says it's their all-time fave RPG, loving the lore and emotional ride that this PS2 gem delivers. So yeah, low-key rough around the edges sometimes, but that's part of its charm, and the price? Still super reasonable for what you get.
The tale I am about to tell concerns certain creatures that were used as runic weapons. these beings were not of our world.
Suikoden Tactics. So, Suikoden Tactics is kind of a quirky beast, a tactical Suikoden spin-off with colourful cel-shaded sprites doing their best on PS2, even though the details feel a bit, let's say, retro PS2-y. The character models are small, blocky and basic, but hey, they pull off style with that cartoonish charm. The battlefields themselves flex some serious creativity, grid-based layouts, elemental runes that tint the terrain, and even support units who heal or buff your squad mid-battle. Plus, there's a goodwill system that rewards you with sweet combo attacks and battlefield saves. Friendship is OP. Reviewers were mixed. Some noted the graphics were functional at best, bland terrain, dull zoom-ins, but praised the tactical system for being deep and elegant. RPG fans' verdict: environments like Haruna and Graska legit stood out, even if spell animations weren't mind-blowing. And on Reddit, players still dig the world building and movement, even if it doesn't reinvent the wheel. It's a fun tactical ride in Suikoden's world. All of this runs on a ho-hum PS2 setup, so modest specs, but solid design makes Suikoden Tactics a hidden affordable gem for SRPG fans today.
His long reign came to an abrupt end as the news of his death spread throughout the Dark Land.
Disgaea, Hour of Darkness. How wild is it that Disgaea Hour of Darkness on PS2 feels like a zany indie JRPG dream, even with its retro, sprite-first style? The game mixes clean, 2D anime-style sprites with simple 3D backgrounds. None of it screams cutting-edge PS2, but the quirky charm more than makes up for it. Reviewers pointed out the visuals look almost PlayStation 1 level, flat textures and recycled sprites popping up here and there. But somehow it all works because the style is so distinct. Compared to massive JRPGs of the time, the presentation is humble, but the creativity and expressiveness of tiny characters on battlegrounds, bursting with spells and colour, that's where it shines. And here's the kicker: fans still get hooked. One even said the game's depth of mechanics and sheer replayability make it feel endless, even after decades. All on an old PS2 rig, with sprite engines and simple 3D that could have been done on older tech. But the bold design choice to lean into that cartoonish look, pure genius. Disgaea proves you don't need flash to deliver something unforgettable and affordable today. Suikoden 3. Suikoden 3 might have been the series' first leap into full 3D, and on PS2 hardware it looks kinda rough, but in that charming, scrappy way. The models are blocky, the animation's a bit stiff, and there's no voice acting or flashy cutscenes, but the character designs and bold, cel-shaded art still give it personality and soul. Environments like the grasslands and Zexen are bright and colourful, giving you that Suikoden cartoon feel that pops even now. It is not as sleek as the likes of Final Fantasy X, but that's kind of the point. It's got a unique aesthetic that embraces the PS2's limits and uses them to stand out. Fans still vibe with it too. One Redditor said, "The graphics aged great. I still go back and be completely immersed, despite the dated tech." Another chimed in on the storytelling magic. "The Trinity system is brilliant. The storytelling is really the draw to S3. So yeah, on a shoestring PS2 setup, Suikoden 3 proves that art style, heartfelt story and bold design can outshine raw graphical polish, and it's still an affordable gem worth diving back into today. Shadow Hearts Covenant. Do you ever fire up Shadow Hearts Covenant on a PS2 and just marvel at what the system can still pull off? This game seriously makes the console look gorgeous. Stunning pre-rendered backgrounds, smooth polygon characters, and even realistic lighting that casts eerie cinematic shadows, like someone sneaked a horror movie engine into your JRPG. Reviewers went nuts. One called it the best-looking RPG on PS2, saying, "No jaggies, no weird posture, everything looks amazing." While another dropped a perfect 10/10 for graphics, praising its moody atmosphere. Fans still hype it too, plenty of nostalgic love on Reddit, like someone saying how it's still one of the PS2 JRPGs that holds up most graphically. The game's not just a pretty face, it's got depth. Judgment Ring combat keeps you engaged, and the combo system plus positioning adds strategy and flair to every fight. And the FMV cutscenes, pure joy to watch, even now. All this crisp, gothic horror flair and storytelling magic, running smooth on a console that's barely whispering modern standards. Plus, the original PS2 copies are still super affordable, meaning you can still experience this haunting gem without breaking the bank.
I won't return to Valhalla.
Valkyrie Profile 2, Silmeria. Okay, so Valkyrie Profile 2. Silmeria is like a PS2 flex. This game pushes that old box to the max with jaw-dropping visuals and smooth performance. Tri-Ace turned the console into a fantasy painting, packing detail into every character model, building an environment, from Asgard's glowing halls to Midgard's layered 2D platform towns. It always looks alive and dreamy. Backgrounds have insane depth and lighting, like sunlight filtering through a window or flickering candles, all running silky smooth. Sure, you'll spot a few jaggy edges here and there, but it's PS2 we're talking about, and these graphics are still some of the best that machine ever saw. The combat's also a treat. 3D battle arenas, flowing combos tied to each face button, strategic movement, and cinematic zoom-in attacks. It's intense, addictive, and way more engaging than the average JRPG of its time. Fans still gush about it. Even years later, folks call it one of the most graphically beautiful PS2 games and wonder why it never got the spotlight it deserved it. And the best part, it's still cheap as heck to pick up today. Seriously, gorgeous visuals, killer combat, and a budget-friendly price tag. Total win. Kingdom Hearts. Brace yourself. Kingdom Hearts 2002 may seem like a magical blend of Disney and Square, but on a technical level, it's basically wizardry, leveraging PS2's limited hardware to make everything feel lit, even though none of it is real-time lighting. The developers faked lighting using textures and smart shading tricks, and it works so well you don't even notice the limitations. This game didn't just rely on nostalgia. It leaned heavily into sleek animation. Character models move like they're straight from Hollywood cartoons, and environments, Agrabah, Halloween Town, Atlantica, look like living paintings. One reviewer put it best: Kingdom Hearts could be compared to Final Fantasy X, where Final Fantasy X focused on scenery, KH focuses on animation, and does it brilliantly. So yes, it's running on just a 294 MHz Emotion Engine CPU, 32 MB RAM, and a 4 MB graphics synthesizer. But it looks and feels cinematic, alive, and charming as ever. And hey, you can still grab a cheap copy today, making that timeless magic incredibly affordable.
I'm sorry. I didn't plan on staying so long, but I got kind of sucked in.
All right. Well, that's what I thought happened.
Star Ocean 3, Till the End of Time. All right. Star Ocean, till the end of time, still packs a visual punch, even on the dusty old PS2. The environments are downright vibrant, bouncing between high-tech spaceships and cozy medieval kingdoms, showing off Tri-Ace's sci-fi meets fantasy flair in all its glory. The in-engine graphics deliver that anime-style charm, and though the character models hint at engine limits, the few CG cutscenes are straight-up cinematic masterpieces, freaking gorgeous when they hit. Reviewers still give props for how the game squeezes beauty out of the hardware, and that's not even counting the added cinema scenes in the director's cut. It's ambitious, expressive, and still eye-catching. Fans on Reddit go wild, recalling the game's length, crafting systems, and immersive world. One user even raves about how it blew their mind. I still love this game to this day. PS2 specs: RAM, limited video memory, emotion engine. Might be weak by today's standards, but smart design and sci-fi charm make Star Ocean 3 shine, and you can still grab it cheap and dive into that sprawling galaxy without spending a fortune. Xenosaga Episode 1 Der Wille zur Macht. Ever launch Xenosaga Episode 1 on your PS2 and wonder how it still looks like a sci-fi anime crossover painted directly onto aging hardware? The character models, especially Kosa Moss, are stunningly detailed, with sparkles drifting from her hair and tech attacks bursting with cool particle effects that go way beyond standard PS2 JRPGs. The anime-style gels flawlessly with the polygons, making every battle feel dramatic, even if the environments sometimes lean bland and repetitive, like dated spaceship corridors. Reviewers weren't shy with praise either. One called it one of the most impressive-looking games on PS2, even comparing its graphics favorably to those on Xbox. The storytelling's equally cinematic, powered by a killer soundtrack from Yasunori Mitsuda and delivered with real-time animation that blends seamlessly into FMV quality. Fans today still admit the experience holds up. You'll still find folks saying the combat's engaging, strategic, and rewarding thanks to its boost system and character customization. All of this comes from a PS2 with a modest emotion engine, proof that smart art, ambitious design, and a strong vision can make an affordable console deliver unforgettable visuals and storytelling.
I'm gonna find my way out of here. I swear it.
Rogue Galaxy. So, Rogue Galaxy on PS2? It's basically a visual love letter to what the console could still pull off when Level 5 got serious. Everything is rendered in gorgeous cel-shaded style. Characters pop with that anime flair against lush, sprawling sci-fi backdrops, from lush jungles and dusty deserts to bustling sky cities and starry voids. What's wild is how seamlessly everything transitions. No obvious loading screens, just warp from area to area like butter. Reviewers didn't hold back. IGN called the graphics one of the best-looking games on the PS2. And trusted reviews even compared it favorably to Blue Dragon on Xbox 360. The game drips with polish. Equipment you slot on your character shows up in-game, not just menus, a subtle touch that makes the world feel alive. Players still rave about it decades later. One fan on Reddit said it feels like Treasure Planet, the game I always wanted, and praised just how its visuals and seamless exploration sold the fantasy of space piracy. Another chimed in, "Stylized graphics are timeless. Level 5 games always look beautiful, even today." All that beauty and polish, it's running on ancient PS2 guts, yet you can still score it for cheap, Rogue Galaxy is proof that smart design, style, and technical smarts can make aging hardware deliver a timeless JRPG experience without emptying your wallet. Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne. However, booting up Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne on a PS2 still hits different, even after all these years. The visuals lean into a dark, surreal, cel-shaded aesthetic that sidesteps PS2 limitations by making style the star. The environments in the labyrinth of Amala and Tokyo's broken ruins? Creepy, stylish, and unforgettable. And holy heck, reviewers and fans don't hold back. One Game FAQs user flat out gave its graphics a 10/10, calling it one of the best games on the PS2 graphically. GameSpot noted how Kazuma Kaneko's character and demon designs command attention, making the world feel cohesive and haunting, even though some indoor areas are simpler. Plus, fans still rave about it today, for good reason. Its occult visuals, oppressive atmosphere, and slick demon shtick still land hard. One Redditor even said the cel-shaded graphics and press-turn system make it barely aged, and recommended it ahead of other SMT titles. Running this beauty on an old Emotion engine-powered PS2, it's nutty what clever art design and ambitious ambition can pull off. And the best part, it's still surprisingly budget-friendly to pick up these days.
Too long, so correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't this kind of a pathetic welcome for the Queen's sister and the Prince?
Yeah, well, what else can you expect?
Suikoden 5. Picture this. You fire up Suikoden 5, and suddenly the PS2 doesn't feel ancient. It feels timeless. The graphics vibe midway between stylized cel-shaded charm and smoother polygons, so characters look like lively animated art with surprising depth and lighting. They even nailed reflections and sunlight flares on water and shiny floors, adding a cinematic polish that really makes Felena feel vivid, not just a flat game map. Reviewers and fans still gush about those beautiful in-game facial expressions and cutscenes, which feel smooth and natural. No stiff text boxes, just characters who actually move, and mocap-level believable. Yes, there are occasional slowdowns when your army's crammed into a screen, or when loading hits, new area, battle, cutscene, they happen. But those are fun little pauses, not deal-breakers. Fast forward to now. Copies of the PS2 version are still dirt cheap. Combine that with witty formation battles, 108 recruitable characters, and a political story that can make you tear up, and you've got a gorgeous JRPG that still runs beautifully on vintage hardware without draining your wallet. In the end, it's wild that these stunning PS2 JRPGs still shine so brightly on hardware that's nearly ancient. That crusty little box with 32 megabytes RAM and a funky Emotion engine. It's not wizardry though, it's all smart art direction, clever engine tricks, and artists who leaned into bold styles over flashy gloom. That's why games like Rogue Galaxy and Final Fantasy XII still look epic today. And thanks to the PS2's massive library and easy-to-find prices, you can dive into these visual feasts without hurting your wallet.